Want to achieve network marketing success? Then you're in the right company. Hello, and welcome to Leave Nothing to Chance, hosted by networking marketing giant John Solider. Learn everything you need to know about the network marketing space from somebody who's actually done it. Join us every week for front row seats as we feature some of the finest and most successful personalities in network marketing. Leave nothing to chance. Join us now.
Hello, everyone. I want to introduce a new friend from a long way away. We were just talking about Perth, Australia, where Chris Benetti lives and works and runs Smart Author Media. So, Chris, welcome to the show. Appreciate you getting up early. I know it's about 6 a.m. Saturday morning there, so appreciate you getting up.
Yeah, well, John, it's a pleasure to be here, and I'm excited to chat.
Great. Well, let's get started, Chris, because you do something that's totally unique. We've done about 150 some odd shows, and I've had a lot of authors on, including myself. I've authored 4 books, as you probably know. And one of the challenges when you author a book is, okay, great. I did the hard work. I spent the time, the money. I got the ghostwriters and the copywriters and all these great people, and you got a finished product. Now, what the heck do you do with it to get it out there? So you're an authority when it comes to this. So let's talk about what Smart Author Media does. And let me ask you this question. So you've written a book. Now what?
I would say, actually, one of my friends, Mike Capuzzi, who is an expert in writing books, says that writing books is actually not the hardest part. It's marketing books. So, for me, you've done all the hard work. In my opinion, it's your responsibility now to get it out there and get it into the hands of people. Otherwise, what's it for? And there's multiple avenues for now what and how do I market it, right? There's leveraged activities, there's manual activities, there's things that you can do that cost money, and there's things that you can do that are free. And so if we look at and think about putting our book on Amazon, that's obviously a free thing that we can do. It's going to get it to a new marketplace that wouldn't have existed to us otherwise. There's other things like going and doing podcast tours and speaking tours and book signings and posting on your social media organically, and creating YouTube channels around your book, and all that kind of stuff is all manual work that isn't very leveraged at all. And where I like to specialize is in leveraged activities, which is, let's use some money and run some advertising, and that's going to get our book out there without much effort from us.
And how does somebody create themselves as an authority figure?
Well, I think the book is the best way, right away. It's 100% the tool and the asset that's going to set you aside from competition. Now, the book in itself is one piece, and like I said before, it's kind of useless without it being in front of your ideal avatar and target market. So by leveraging marketing alongside having the actual asset itself, that's what creates the authority.
And let's talk about this. I listened to an interview that you were on. I don't remember the gentleman that was interviewing you, but I thought he made some good points, and that you made some good points about short books versus long books. You don't have to write War and Peace to get an audience, right? So sometimes the short book is better, but talk about that a little bit, because some people want to tell everything they've ever known, everything they've ever done, every place they've ever been, every meal they've ever eaten, every experience they've ever had, and maybe that winds up being a multitude of books and media versus one that maybe doesn't get out there the way that the others should. So I'd love you to talk about that a little bit. That short book concept, I think, is terrific.
So that was actually Mike Capuzzi, that conversation. So coming full circle there. Short books. I don't know about you, John, but I don't really have a lot of time to read books. I'm a young father, husband, and a busy entrepreneur. So, for me, getting through books is a little bit challenging these days, unless, I'm listening or something like that, and I can 2x it and listen on multiple sessions. But ultimately, I find that if we get straight to the point and the book's an outcome-driven book or something tactical, then I think we can get the message across pretty clearly and give a lot of value. And I would say, first and foremost, I don't think that there's actually a difference between portraying a valuable message in a long book versus a short book. Maybe a long book you might need to do more concepts and things like that. But the question I would ask is, does it have to be in one book? But certainly when it comes to marketing books, we've got clients like Nigel Moore, who has a very short book. He wrote it with Mike, actually. And, we've given away thousands of copies of his book and generated hundreds of thousands in revenue from the back of his book as well. And the fact that it's a short book doesn't actually matter towards, the numbers. Might make it more attractive, but they don't know how long it is necessarily. They're just downloading the book. So, in saying that, I think it's potentially a delight when someone gets the book and they realize, oh, wow, I can get all of the strategies and value in a 120-page book instead of, having to read 300 plus pages potentially.
And do you think vertical integration? So, all the other assets that can be off of that, like I think back, I met Mark Victor Hansen many years ago on a cruise ship. We were doing something together. I don't even remember where it was. That's how long ago it is. But he was talking about how him and Jack Cantwell, they took that idea vertical. It was, chicken soup for the chiropractor, chicken soup for the school teacher, chicken soup for the truck driver. And they took the same basic idea, but they took it out there across vertical lines of human beings based on different, occupations, et cetera. Is that something that you think in today's market is more applicable maybe than it was, 15, 20 years ago, because of all the other media things that can be used in conjunction with a book like the one that you just held up, for example?
That's a great question. I would say it depends on the goal. Does the author want to be in several niches? Have they tapped out their current market? And if the answer is no, then I would rather you vertically integrate with your own products. Like, how can this book be a direct lead into the service or the offer you have in your business? And that's really what I specialize in, is aligning the book, so long as it's congruent with the offer the client has, together. How do we lead someone from downloading the book or buying the book to working with my client on a more official and expansive capacity, so that they can get an outcome quicker, faster, better, with more expertise, guidance, etc., rather than just having to strictly focus on working through the book and doing it themselves. So I would say that that's probably the integration that I like to specialize in and focus on. But certainly if you're a career author, or if you have a massive millions of audience and have sold lots of copies, like someone like Bob Berg, who wrote the Go-Giver, that would be a good example of how do we vertically integrate into other niches and other books that cover those realms. But certainly if you're a smaller author, I would just say, how can I integrate my book with my business is more important.
Exactly. So kind of like the books these days kind of become a tool for consulting work or other other ways that are more profitable than writing the book itself, where you make a couple of bucks. Right?
Yeah, definitely. And certainly if you're going to go down the avenue of advertising and marketing your book, and you're spending money on the book to get it out there, most people will lose money to sell their book, quite frankly. And the big profit is in the back end.
Exactly. Well, I've even found out myself, is like my books have led, and even the podcasts have led to consulting work and other things that, are profitable, that you spend money to get your authority figure status out there. And then all of a sudden people start saying, well, can you do this for me? Can you do that for me? So great. Let's talk about this though. Let's talk about, and by the way, I love the branding of your company, Smart Author Media, because it eliminates all the people who aren't smart authors that say, hey, I'm a dumb author. It's like you get you're kind of reaching into people and saying, hey, come with us. You're creating your own authority, if you will. So I love your branding, but let's talk about what you guys can do and some of the services that Smart Author Media offers authors and, other business people that want to get their imagery out there.
Yeah, and thank you for the compliment. It was a bit of a struggle coming up with the name initially when I was in ideation phase, but yeah, ultimately it came down to no one wants to be a dumb author, so smart author's the name. So, and we just recently, the last 6 months, got it trademarked as well. The word, the smart author phrase in Australia, anyway. So it's pretty official now, John. Um, so how we help, yeah. So if someone has a book and they have a business, and the book is, like I said, it's an integration into the business. Typically, a good alignment to what they're doing in business, then that's essentially the first criteria for us and the clients that we work with. If they don't have a business on the back of their book, then we're going to sell a lot of books and they're going to spend a lot of money, and it might be beneficial, it might not be beneficial, but it's a bit ambiguous. So, whether or not it's beneficial is it's hard to say. So for us, we just make sure that that's kind of in line, because then I can almost certainly ensure that the client gets a good result working with us at Smart Author Media. And then how we help, we essentially build all of the marketing assets to get the book advertised and out there into the marketplace, to sell copies, to give copies away. And what that looks like on a granular level is, we build what's called a book funnel, which is, it's kind of like a website. And essentially someone buys the book on step one, and then we might have a few other offers for them through the sales process. And then at the end of the funnel, they might get a call, an option for the next steps. So whether the next steps is to watch a webinar, to potentially work with the client further, to book in a strategy session, to potentially, get their help on something, and so on. So whatever the next steps are, we kind of position that at the end of the funnel. And then the funnel doesn't stop there. The emails and the retargeting ads and things like that are all a part of the funnel. So we are always following up for the people who didn't take action on, booking in on the next step thing, to get them back to the next step thing. So all of our email follow-up is all based around how do we overcome objections, how do we deliver social proof, and how do we get them back to the thing that we want them to do, which is essentially working with us further if they're a good fit, essentially. And then we then handle all of the advertising and management of advertising as well. So we'll set up the ads, creatives, copywriting for the ads to get them to the funnel in the first place. And through that process, we vigorously test every single week. It's, testing new creatives, so the images and the videos that go with the ads, testing new copy for the ads, testing new targeting, testing different campaign setups, and then also split testing the funnel. So our book sales page, if it's not converting at 5% or above, hopefully 10%, then we'll split test headlines, we'll split test offers, so we'll go really above and beyond every single week, every single month for our clients, just to make sure that we're always at an optimal performance with our ads and our funnel.
And what's the best way for people to go up? I know I did yesterday, but share all the collateral information so that they know where to go to take a look.
Yeah, so smartauthormedia.com is the website, and essentially everything is there. And there's a nice green button on that page where you can go ahead and book a book marketing chat with me, and we can run through what you're doing, and I can give you some advice and some actionable steps to take to do something better, or if you haven't done anything, what you can do. And if you want to work with us to help implement that kind of stuff, then that'll be an option as well.
And let's talk about lead generation. So how, what are other ways that people can lead generate to get their book out there?
Oh, that's a great question. I love this question. So lead gen is such a awesome thing, and I think there's so many really effective ways. So first and foremost, if you are an author, I strongly believe you should be doing what we're doing right now, and having your own podcast, going on other people's podcasts, and just doing that relentlessly. there's so many people who have your audience, or there is a general alignment. Like John's show here is more general to business, not necessarily authors and author marketing specifically. There's certainly shows like that, but there's going to be an alignment with your audience, John, that is going to, they're going to have books. They're going to maybe want to write a book. They're maybe going to want to get help with marketing books, or they know someone who wants those things. And so that's really a huge opportunity. I think if you're not doing that, if you're not vigorously going out there and putting yourself out there and doing these things, then that's the first step that I would do. And then I would also ask, what other communities are there on Facebook and, LinkedIn potentially, and YouTube, where you can go ahead and collaborate with other, creators who have your audience as well. I'm a huge fan of going into different people's masterminds and doing presentations for no charge or anything like that. I just want to go in, give value, and then that basically props my authority status up, and people want what I've got as well. So that creates an opportunity for leads. If you're an author, that would obviously create an opportunity for book sales. Besides this, I highly recommend, a YouTube channel for yourself or your book as well. There's a really good book called 3 Words I Used to Sell 100,000 Copies. And you can go check that out. That's essentially a roadmap to just what you can do to organically get your book word out there and go ahead and generate a bunch of book sales and leads for yourself.
Let's go back to the funnels for a minute, because many of our listeners are self-employed, mostly in network marketing, some in insurance, some in other endeavors. And a lot of them are multiple, what I call multiple business people, multiple, serial entrepreneurs. They might do network marketing, but they're in real estate, or they're investing in real estate, or they're, they're in another business that they either own or maybe run, but they're very entrepreneurial. This concept of funnels is something that has become so popular, and yet most people don't really understand the value. They hear it and they think, and I always describe it like a kitchen funnel, right? If you go in your kitchen and you get a funnel and you pour, something in the top, some drips out the bottom, right? Which I think is a fair explanation, but it still doesn't really depict what people need. Tell the value, because you mentioned it, how you're using funnels to get the information out, but how valuable has that become to not only to your business, to growing your business itself, but also to these different authors using a funnel system to kind of, drip that information out there to the people who are so inclined to say, hey, I want to join your community ultimately, and I want to hear what you have to say. And maybe I want to hire you, maybe I don't. I'll buy your book for $15 and maybe it sits on a shelf, or they wind up with $100,000 contract to do whatever it is that they're talking about in their book, that a client says, I found out about this because I listened to a podcast and I got on your funnel, or I read your book. And anyway, let me shut up and let you answer.
Yeah, so I've been doing funnels since end of 2016. It's kind of the first thing I did when I came into this business space. Funnels are the thing that can help you effectively take someone through a process and drive them towards an outcome ultimately. Without a funnel, the alternative is you sending someone to a website. Maybe you've got your book on your website, and when they buy, they just go to an order confirmation page. It's really, there's not much to it. There's not much that you can creatively do in that process. Alternatively, if they buy your book on Amazon, you don't really get any information or any data. You don't know who bought your book. You don't know anything. So it's very difficult for you to do anything and drive that person towards, again, the goal outcome of what you want to achieve from your book. So funnels, to me, and the real benefit to them is we can send traffic, which is, people from podcasts, people from ads, people from Facebook groups or social media, anything like that. That's essentially traffic coming in the top. If we think of the funnel again, like John explained, like a kitchen funnel, people coming into the big end. And then depending on what our outcome is, you can just think of the outcome as like the bottom of the funnel, the small amount. And so we essentially are driving people through, and they might not buy the book, so they're filtered at that first step, and they might not buy the upsell, so they're filtered at that step. And so it's kind of like at the top we've got, let's say, thousands of people, and at the bottom they're basically being filtered through each step that we have in the funnel, and at the end we're left with the select few that kind of made it through and have taken the actions that we want to achieve the outcome that we expected from them, essentially. So it's powerful because it can really help to have your traffic or the people coming through to self-identify with what they want to, what capacity they want to work with you in, or what actions they want to take. And you basically filter out the people who aren't ready for that, or aren't, action takers potentially, or whatever, down into people who are. And that really just gives you the highest quality, people to work with on the outcome.
Great. Question on this. I remember when I wrote my first book, which was 2004. I think I wrote it in 2005. I published it. And I remember thinking, well, who wants to hear what I have to say? And then I saw an interview with Barack Obama where he was this, young senator, and he had written a book, and he said something I think that was incredibly wise. He said that he did not write the book to run for office. He actually did ultimately, right? But he wrote it for his kids, because he felt like if he had died young like his mom did, that his kids would never really know who their dad was, because his kids are like, grown now, but at that time they were little kids. And he wrote that. So I said, let me do that. And of course I did it around my profession and my professional life, but I had some of my, who I am, and, what my hobbies were, and, blah, blah, blah. And I did that initially, like I said, like he did, just for my kids, with the idea that, okay, I have an audience, and I sold the book, and I don't know how many copies we sold, but here's what I'm getting at. We have listeners who have their life story in them. They had their business success. That's what they did for a living. That's how they put bread on the table. But who they were as a person, they should get, in my opinion, on paper. I think everybody's got a book in them. I'd love your thoughts on that, because you work with so many people who are extremely successful. I know Bob Berg, for example, very successful guy. You're working with successful people, but at the end of the day, it's not just, here's a strategy or here's a tactic. It's also, hey, here's how I evolved into learning that, and here's who I was, and maybe what circumstances that were in front of them that caused them to go this way instead of this way. Love just your thoughts on that, and your suggestions for people who are out there who are saying, yeah, I'm going to write a book. But they never, they never sit down and start. Right. So that, and of course the process involved with it. So what is the process, and why should they write a book?
Well, I'm certainly not a book writing expert. However, I do think, if there's something in your life that is worth sharing, you should do so. I look at a book like that and I go, cool, the purpose and the outcome of that book is maybe not an authority building piece. It's maybe not a lead generation piece for your business. Maybe it's more of a memoir. Maybe it's something that you want to write for as a passion, as a purpose to get out there into the world. And any single person, no matter what stage in life you're at, like you should write that if you want to write that book, in my opinion. For me, I would not take a book like that, and I would not market that kind of book, if that makes sense. It's probably not going to be the most effective asset for you to get, leads and sales in your business. So I don't really have any writing tips, unfortunately,
Okay.
for you, John, or a process, but I definitely would say, like, if that's the book that you want to write and you feel like you need to write, then write that book for sure. But just have the clear expectation of what the outcome is for the book, and don't necessarily expect that it's going to be a really good book for you to be able to market your business with.
Good answer. So let's come back to it from a business standpoint. So we have people listening to us that have been, different stages. I have people who make $1 million a year listen to the show. I have people who want to make $1 million a year. I have people that, are part-time in their business and saying, how do I use a book funnel to build that, not that just that authority, but that audience, right? Because once they have the book and the funnel, now how do they get that audience to start responding to them, and they use the book as that lever, if you will, to grow their business?
It's definitely, it comes down to having a book that's hyper relevant to, again, what you're offering, but then what the market needs as well. So I'll just go back to the example of Nigel Moore. So Nigel Moore has a book called Package, Price, Profit, and he works with MSP providers. So people who do managed service providers for, corporations. They essentially help them implement Microsoft security and, all those kind of things, like digital security kind of stuff. These guys are very technical as entrepreneurs. They're very, very technical. So you could probably understand that they would struggle with marketing, and they would struggle with doing contracts, and even selling services and being able to price and package their offers quite well. And so the book is hyper relevant to the fact that Nigel understands that that's a very big gap in the market. They struggle with that a lot. So I would say, how can you make your book hyper relevant to a very clear pain for the audience and the avatar that you serve? And then furthermore, how does your business then support that? So on the back of Nigel's book, he's got a $47 per month community and membership where he basically delivers all the templates and all the marketing advice, and even proposal templates, contract templates, all of that kind of stuff. And he does it in such big volume. He's literally spent $50,000 to $100,000 developing these contracts with lawyers and, designers and all of that kind of stuff. He's just gone over the top with, how can I support the people who get the book in the next areas that they may need help with, or even further helping them with the current paradigm of packaging and pricing their offers. So, if you think about the same thing in your business, like most likely you should have a business first, and you should be serving people in the business. And then the book should come after the fact to go, cool, how can I take maybe one small piece of how I'm helping people over here, or even the process that I'm using over here, and condense it into a book so that people can do it themselves. And if they want more help with it, then my business is here. So for me as well, as an example, I do done for you marketing for books. Maybe I would write a book about marketing books. It's kind of inception, but that's kind of the thought process, is giving all of my strategies and my methodologies around how we launch ads, build book funnels, do follow-up, and convert leads into clients or book buyers into clients, putting that into a book, and then going, if you want more help, here's my done with you community, or here's our done for you service, and we're certainly here to support you.
Great. So 2 last questions, Chris. Well, first one, how are you using AI, if you are using AI, in your business?
AI is a fun and distracting tool, I should say. We primarily use it for copywriting feedback, copywriting prompts, and a lot of it is used also in our video editing processes as well. So when we run the podcast, we use AI to help with subtracting transcripts and cleaning up video quality and things like that. But yeah, definitely the most part that we use is, we create author personas for our clients. So something like ChatGPT, we can feed it the PDF of our client's book, and then we can kind of pre-frame it and ask it certain questions so that it can output marketing information for us. So it can give us ad copy based on the book's content. So it can give us email follow-up sequences based on the book's content, and what the book's outcome is and the goal of the book. and who the avatar is. So we give it all of that context so that it can give us all of the content on the other side that we can use and definitely polish, because it's not awesome. But it is a really good starting point for us to be able to use and leverage so that we can go ahead and create multiple variations of ads, multiple variations of sales page copy, email follow-up, and whatnot.
Great. And here's the final $9,000 question for the morning. So, talking to entrepreneurs that listen to the show, what's the number one thing that they could do to raise their imagery, if you will, with their current clients and their potential clients?
You if you haven't got a book, that's that's an obvious answer here. But certainly I would say by putting a stake in the ground and publishing content around what you do, what you do for current clients, the results you have achieved with them anonymously, of course, so that you're not, crossing boundaries. And certainly just putting your ideations around things out there into the world, you're going to most likely repel people who don't want to work with you or aren't good fits to work with you, and attract people who are. And your current clients are going to see that you know your stuff, and they're going to like you more.
Great. So let's talk just one more second too, so they know where to reach Smart Author Media.
SmartAuthorMedia.com. Yeah.
SmartAuthorMedia.com, and you can find out a little bit more. And I know we've got, just, off the top of my head, I could think of at least 30 authors that have been on, and every one of them wants to sell more books and lead to, more consulting work, more contract work, et cetera, et cetera. And we've got a lot of would-be authors, like I said, a lot of people who are thinking, I should, but, I haven't, and, I'm going to get around to it when I retire and, get around to it, right? It says on a lot of gravestones, I'm going to get around to it, and they never do. But my suggestion would be, well, Chris, this has been a pleasure. Any last thoughts on your end? Anything I missed?
Whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. So, it's really, you're in your own head about doing anything. If you want to write a book, whether you think you can or you can't, that's it's right. So go do it if you think you can, and maybe have a think about why you think you can't, and work on changing that perception.
Great. Well, this has been a privilege. And once again, Smart Author Media. And just hang one second, Chris, we'll do a little housekeeping at the end, but thank you so much. Thank you so much for getting up in the middle of the night to do this as well. This will go down as the longest geographical podcast I've ever done. I don't think we can get further away from each other. I think it's probably about 11,000 miles away from each other. So thank God for good technology, right?
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Leave Nothing to Chance. If you want to know more about what it takes to succeed in the network marketing space, join us again next week for another amazing episode. For additional resources and to connect with John Solider, visit leavingnothingtochance.com. Don't forget to leave a review, and we'll see you next time.